After only 6 days, the war is over. Israel now controls 3.5 times as much land as it had 6 days ago.
The days when the Jewish people remained passive in the face of genocidal enemies, those days are over.
Here, what Israel faces: the 6 wars, 2 intifadas, continuous terrorism, and economical boycott from all of its neighboring countries. In fact, in 5 decades, they are facing at least one major war in the year. They are not even a big country. It is smaller than the state of Kerala, and its population is half than the population of our Mumbai, India. And they have no any natural resources to bank on, including water. But even then, they are called as the startup nation of the world, with the GDP of $480 billion. They are the 10th largest defense exporter of the world, and it is the 8th most powerful country in the world, even in the presence of some of the natural resource countries like UAE and Saudi Arab. The days back of 1948, when Israel got independence, and just after Israel got independence, it was attacked by 5 different countries of Arab nations simultaneously. Countries like Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. And here Israel is not only outnumbered because of its population, but it was also outgunned because it having no any supply of the guns and the arms and ammunition. They having only the supply of the ammunition which was provided by Stalin at the time of their independence. That was some of guns and few planes. So everyone expected that Arab nation get win easily. But entire world gets shocked after the upcoming result of this war. Here to see that these Arabs withdraw from their planes and positions in all directions, including the Golden Heights, Jerusalem, and also the some parts of Gaza Strip. Here Israel not only defeat the Arabs but also capture the western part of the Jerusalem and the eastern part of the Gaza Strip, the northern part of the Archer. But here is the question is, without having ammunition, without having the armed peoples, without having the good GDP, how Israel going to win this war? What are the statics? What are the tactics the Israel and its government will make so that they become and win this war even in the presence of so low equipments, weapons, and do not having a good strategy? And why these Arab soldiers withdraw from the war? What the caliber that Jewish peoples, Israeli peoples have that the other 5 Arab nations do not having? So let's come to know. So here I wanted to tell you there is a one thing that having the Israeli people but do not courage to have these other 5 Arab peoples. That is the game of psychology, or you can say that the psychological strategies. Yes, you heard right, the psychological strategy. In the middle of the war, when Israeli soldiers was actually get run out after bombardment of the Arab country, one of the Israeli soldiers get the plan to use the Seychelles bottles against the Arab countries, because Seychelles bottles are the glass bottles that is used to store sodas. When these bottles are released from the high altitude, they make a same sound that is whistling sound like a bomb and drop and make a loud noise when they burst. The best part about these Seychelles bottles that they are easy to acquire, they are cheaper and able to acquire in abundance amount also. So what actually they were doing? That Israeli were gathered as many Seychelles bottles as they can, loaded them in the crop dusted plane and dropped them near the Arab areas, bases. And these bottles made such noise that the Arab armies were convinced that they were bombed by the bombers or the heavy technologies that they not even see before. As these bottles made much noise, the peoples of the Arab army were convinced that they were bombed, so that what they will do, as the bottle will be displaced from the air, it will not able to harm any one of them, but it will sound like that. And they were convinced, Arab people were convinced that they were bombed. So what they will do, they will be flew from their bases and leave the place where they live and bombed and attack on the Israeli peoples. On the top of that, Israeli also use a mortar or a weapon that will ruin the Arab army, that is Devitka mortar. It is such an unsophisticated weapon that neither having accuracy nor having capability to do and destroy the enemy. But one thing which is again the psychological game that Israeli people do, that they play the psychological game, because these mortars sound, they get so much convinced that they were bombed and they will attack heavily and they will be flew from their bases because of the sound effect of this Devitka mortars. And they started thinking that Israel were using some deadly weapon, and some of them also thinking that they having a deadly atomic bomb also. And why they were thinking so much about the Arab nations, why they were thinking this much that not other people will think. The Main reason of that is because of the lack of coordination between the Arab nations. None of them will able to figure out what these Israeli were doing. So again, most of the Arab peoples were started leaving the side area. Even Arab soldiers also started evacuating in sequence. These techniques combined with the other techniques, Arab nation not only protect its own countries but also capture the 60% area of the Arab nations that were provided in the time of partition. Similarly, in 1967, when they were attacked by Egypt, Jordan, Iran, Syria, they will collect such accurate information and intelligence such that even before the Egyptian aircraft will take off, while pilots having their breakfast before that, Israeli bomb their airports and paralyze their army, and because of which they can took control most of the part of Sinai Peninsula. On the top of the military intelligence, we have another Mossad team. One of the clever Mossad stories is that Elin, a Mossad agent who were sent by Israel to the Syria as a rich businessman who was willing to destroy the Israeli power, hosted the lavish parties and also funded some of the Syrian parties and go so close with the Syrian leadership so that they will allow him to visit to the Syrian army and their outpost, and reportedly offered him to chair the defense ministry of the Syria itself. So he not only providing intel to the Israeli but also helped the Syrian to plant the eucalyptus plant in the outpost so that the Syrian soldiers could escape the scorching heat of the sunrises. You come to know that because of these trees and the intel, so that Israeli will easily guess the location of the Israeli outpost. So easily it created the powerful appearance of the Israel all across the world after the 1967 war. 6 days war happened in 1967. Israeli were easily able to overpower the Syrian army due to these trees and the reference points of the army. Israeli army were easily able to attack on Syrians due to these trees and the reference points of their locations. Similarly, it was also said that one of the Mossad spies named Arshaf Marwan was the son-in-law of the Egyptian president Gamenshir himself, and due to this highly influential, extensive and broad spies intel, Israeli were able to collect so much intel. Even Israeli enemy wanted to attack on Israel, war is already in control of Israel. Through these technologies, Israeli will easily able to kick out the Arab countries from the game and protect their own land. So this is only the defense, right? So how Israeli grow its economy? As we all know that the war is so much expensive. So now come to talk about how Israeli also able to grow its economy in such a high level. What are the strategy they will adopt that India have to learn from it? Amidst of all these wars, the Israeli also having some of the funds that they will borrow from the other countries and get the initial financial aid. They get the financial aid from all across the world Jewish people who raise the fund or money for the Israels, including interest-free loans and aids. That accounts of around 65 million pounds, but over $850 million for the period of 14 years, 1953 to 1966, from the West Germany as reparation for Holocaust. And lastly, from 1949 to 1973, they receive an average of $122 million per year for the economical aid from US. But what made Israel so powerful? Is this money? No, but the strategy what they deployed by using these money established the powerful appearance and stand in this world. So what are these strategies that the Israeli will apply so that it was in the race of a powerful country? Well, the root cause of it lies on the education system of Israel. That is very, very different from the India. And this is where we realize the complete failure of our education system is. India produced the more engineers in 15 years than the total population of the Israeli. And yet, the quality of engineers are so bad that the engineers are recruited as a commodity, the mass recruiter. Because not the companies are bad, but our engineers do not having a industrial based engineering skills to add value to the market. So the question is why this will happen. So on one side, our students do the projects of the colleges to just fill up it and to get acquired marks and to submit it because they not give me the right marks is, and we will not able to grow our overall percentage or percentile. On the other hand, Israel will not afford unskilled talent. They strictly evaluates the projects on the basis of the necessary requirements, and they made the projects to solve the problem of the nearby society. And what are the problems? Everyone we know about the drip irrigation. From where this comes? In India nowadays you will able to listen this that the person or the farmer using the drip irrigation is something. But in Israel in 1960s only this was discovered by one of the scientists, and they were using that kind of management till that date. And why they were doing so? as I discussed with you that they find the problem, because in this video only I will tell you that Israel do not having any natural resources, not even a water. They having a water scarcity, and the student will realize that this country, his society will face that problem, and due to which it will implement and form the project and make the project regarding the problem which their society face and solve it. And nowadays his company was a billion-dollar company, and that will not only support the Israel but all across the countries, and having the share of 60% of all that market. This is the strategies that the Israel will do to uplift their economy. And lastly, I wanted to discuss you what are the lessons that India have to learn from Israel. In the world of geopolitics, firstly you have to stand by yourself. You expect other to stand by your side. Secondly, the thing which we have to learn from Israel, that is a double-sided sword. If you use it properly, it will become your assets and lift your economy periodically. But if you do not leverage it, it will become the pain of your neck and become your liabilities, and by the time it will cripple your economy also. Third, just like today we will murmuring past called Soni ki Chidi as the glory of India, if we don't work as of in the next 20 years, we will still lingering in the past by saying that once we have a largest, biggest workforce in the world. And lastly, what the lesson we have to learn from Israel is that on one hand, in India, we just wanted to settle himself and lies in the mediocrity and do not try innovative in the fear of failure. There in Israel, in spite having hostile borders, in spite having a lack of resources, Israeli government have audacity to invest in their startups so that they fail early but eventually going to lead the tech revolution of the world itself, because the Israeli culture believe in to sweat in the peace so that they do not bleed in the war. So this is all from my side, guys. If you like this video, so click on the thumbs up button and subscribe the channel, because if you click on the button, it will give a motivation to us to make such videos, because they are so much informative. There is a lot of information we have to collect from different sides, and after that we will able to make this. So keep liking it and sharing with your friends. Okay? Bye bye.